Fine. Fine. But I'm not going to turn my camera on until the timer runs out. Spear, you're first. You're also resubscribed. Oh my God. How dare you? How very dare you? I don't know. Oh, now I gotta find a glass and put water in it. Uh, there's our timer. There's my face. Hi. Hello. Hey, I got everything tidied up in time for hitting it on Thursday. Hooray, that worked out great. I'm having such fun. Cybertraz, hello. I then telling me to get moist, but didn't actually redeem the moisten. Cybertraz, hello. Sizan, hello. Spear, hello. So here's what we got going on today. I previewed it at the end of last time. It's this. Pork shoulder steak. And I've been brainstorming what I want to do with it. And what we're doing with it is we're making Filipino food. But we're also making Mexican food. We're doing both. It's not letting you click. It should. Let me check. It works for me. Oop, somebody clicked it. I don't know. Well, moist. So here's the thing. Since I got the magic pot, we're going to use the magic pot. You can see it. You can see it lurking in the corner over here. Since we got the magic pot, I have wanted to use it to try making birria, which is something that is extremely delicious, but normally takes all day. Like the recipes you look up for birria take like 12 hours of simmering. We should be able to shortcut that with the magic pot. So hopefully that's going to be what happens here. We're not using the traditional. We're not using the traditional goat because I could not find a big piece of goat. Also because I am using up this. But typically you'll find it with beef these days. What you really just need is something that's got good marbling and is one of the tougher bits that breaks down. So this is shoulder. This is typically a cut of pork that's used. You don't usually get them as steaks, although this has been more and more common these days. I really like these. But you usually get pork shoulder as like a big chunk, and then it slow cooks and it all disintegrates. It's great. So that's the plan. And then I'm going to go make those into lumpia, which we made one time before, ages ago. Those are the Filipino fried spring rolls. Partly because I have a bad track record trying to fry tacos, and partly because I have spring roll wrappers, because when I made the spring roll ghosts for Halloween, I bought the wrong kind of wrappers and then had to buy the other kind of wrappers, so I have the frying kind that have just been sort of sitting around. And that's the plan today. We need to get started because even though this is going to shortcut us, it's going to take some time. So we're going to pop over here. We're going to start by pulling out my chilies. Now I've actually already had a bunch of the chili peppers that are required for this. So I didn't have to go pick up extras. We've got an enormous ancho here. I'm hopeful it's going to be excellent. Real birria is delicious. We have some guajillo, which I've had for ages, and I don't know what to do with them because they're called for in like proper Mexican dishes, but I don't know how to use them well enough to throw them in, like just toss them into stuff. Neither of these are hot peppers. Ancho is a mild and smoky pepper. If you're familiar with poblano, this is a ripened, dried, smoked poblano, so it's very not spicy. Guajillos are a little bit spicier, but still not terribly spicy. They're more in the range of like a weak jalapeno. Spicy ones are these guys, chile de arbol. These guys are like the hot pepper of Mexico, and these ones have not been opened yet. These are your go-to like hot peppers. We're gonna grab a couple of those, but not too many of them. And I don't have the other one, so I guess I'm actually just gonna throw in a second smaller ancho. A bunch of chili peppers is absolutely necessary for this, because we need to make this sort of rich chili sauce. And we got to get the stem chunks out of these guys, because those are not good eating. I'm going to leave the seeds in though, because they're hard to get rid of. The guajillos are already stemless, so I guess we'll just leave them alone. And this ancho also has his stem. So it's going to be spicy. It's supposed to be spicy, but it's not going to be crazy spicy because these big chilies aren't nearly as spicy as the small ones. That's terrible. Go home. Let's see. I need a pan that's big enough to handle the meat. I'm gonna try to use one pan because we have to fry a bunch of things individually that go in the pot, rather than fry things in the pot and then take them out and fry other things in the pot. I'm going to fry things individually, transfer them into the pot, and I would like to use one pan and gradually build up things in it. So it's got to be big enough for my biggest thing, which is our pork steak. Ryuya, welcome in. I have made lumpia once before, but those were like traditional lumpia. This is fusion nonsense lumpia. Do I want that pan or do I want the big pan? Or do I want the cast iron pan? Because we're going to do the meat. What do you guys think? Steel or cast iron? These guys need to be roughly chunked up. Cast iron, says Ryuya. Okay. Nothing too crazy there. Let's see, my cast iron is still in the oven from when I treated it last time, so we'll just use it again. Open up the magic pot because it's going to have to be ready to accept things. Well, step one is This is why I had to start with the chilies. Step one is you put the chilies in a dry pan and you make them hot. So while those are getting started, I will get out I have a reference here for an Instant Pot birria recipe. Just because I know the basics of like real birria, but it takes a million years to make, and I want to shortcut it with the magic pot. Onions are going to need to come up. We've got some dry spices we need to deal with too. And I kind of want to toast them as well. But they need to... We need to keep an eye on that pan. So that those don't burn. Things like this, dry toasting your spices can burn them. But we need cumin. Do I have coriander? Yes. I put it in its own jar. Coriander. Let's see. The recipe reference I have up is Amy and Jackie, which is not a place I've ever used for recipes before. I don't really like how their site is laid out. Can't find anything. Garlic. Onion. Bay leaves. That doesn't sound right. A little bit of tomato paste. I don't have any cider vinegar. I'm going to substitute it with either black vinegar or red wine vinegar. We need a little bit of acidity in there. I've got a bunch of limes. I've got a bunch of stuff. Green onions. I mean, at the end of this, I'm not making birria tacos, so... We're gonna diverge from this recipe pretty quickly. Since I've got whole spices, I'm gonna go ahead and throw my whole coriander in the pan. And my whole cumin in the pan to let them also toast up. We'll mound up the cumin because there's supposed to be a little bit more of that. To let them also toast up, and then they can soften up and blend into the sauce when we get that far. Ooh, this would be a good opportunity for my tomato powder as well, which does not need to be toasted, but this would be a good use for it. Okay, so toasting dry spices is tricky. I've got this on medium-low because I don't want this to heat up too fast. You want your dry spices to be fragrant, and you gotta watch them. Which is why I'm gonna come over here and chop an onion while we're waiting, and to not watch. Because the flavor compounds that we're after in the spices, when they're fragrant, it's because the heat is kind of activating the essential oils. But those essential oils are also burnable. So they tend to go off pretty quick. could theoretically skip the toasting of the spices step. And just throw everything in as is, but you won't be able to get the toasty notes. This is also another reason to buy whole spices whenever possible. You can't do this with the pre-ground stuff. It will just burn in the pan. Okay. Onion sliced up. Get out a bowl. You guys watch the spices. Don't let them burn now. We also need quite a bit of garlic. So I'm just going to kill the other half of this head of garlic. And then also use some garlic powder. Because I sorted out I put some garlic powder in this bowl on Tuesday. And then didn't use all of it. And it just kind of stayed in the bowl. And I didn't want to throw it away because it's perfectly good garlic powder. There's nothing else in it. So I just kind of left it in the bowl until today. I'm going to throw it in with our other stuff. This recipe calls for bay leaves, and I'm just going to skip that. I don't think that sounds right. We're not making a European stew here. Ooh. Okay, when I stand over here, the seed parts have gotten very fragrant. And our pan is, the handle part's still cold. That part's warm, and it's getting pretty hot in the bottom. The trouble is they won't give you a sign that they're about to burn. They'll just suddenly start to burn. So you really have to not do what I've been doing and get distracted. I think... So here's what I'm going to do. I think those are toasty enough. The seeds are toasty enough. I think the pepper pods need a little bit more time. So I'm going to try to separate it. No. I'm going to do this the sane way. By getting out an extra bowl. Again. I'm going to pull the pepper pods out, pour all the seeds off. I should have done these in a different way. Fortunately, with the pepper pods in these big chunks, they're very easy to retrieve. But the seeds have turned color already, so that's why I'm thinking that they need to get out before they go too far. So just chuck them in the bottom. Put everybody back in the pan here. Oh yeah. It'll be too subtle for you to pick up, but I can hear the seeds crackling. just a tiny bit. So I think we got them just in time. The pods will not burn nearly as fast. So I'm going to take this opportunity to peel all my garlics. I said peel all my garlics, not mash. We're not throwing them through the microplane this time, but I still want to give them a crush. I don't want the paste to stick to that pan when they go in there. So, I'm not looking at anything. Get over here. I don't want the garlic to stick to that pan, so we're going to just give it a smash with the flat of the knife and then roughly chop it up. But we still want to give it a chance to toast off a little bit. This is one of those garlic cloves that's very, very flat, so it does not roll in the tube very well, which is unfortunate. Normal garlic cloves roll in the tube. That one might be too... Nope, it's fine. I was going to say it might be too small, but it's not too small. It's just right. Just right. Okay. Get rid of our skins. So, how's things? Ooh, I smell toastiness. Ooh, and we're getting a little wisp of smoke. That's probably the sign that we've hit the limit on these guys. I want to pull them before they have a chance to burn. So we're going to heat off and just take... You guys can't see the magic. I'm going to bring the bottom of the... Oh, it's giving me the chili pepper hot gas as well. Okay. We can keep the vessel of the pot up here so at least you can see what is going into it at each stage. We have our things you just saw, but now they're in this pot. Now we need some oil. Heat on just shy of medium. Enough to give us a good coating on the bottom of the pan for several things. I was taking the little hard tips off of my garlics over here. Then I was going to smash them and rough chop them, rough mince them. Because again, we want relatively large pieces at this stage. Okay. Onions in. Get to browning. We do want these to brown, so I'm glad they got a good hard sizzle as soon as they hit the pan. Means we can't leave them there too long. I'm just going to chop that garlic, let it rest a bit. We've been approaching 2.5 minutes. Ah, shoot. Where are my wooden tongs? Wooden tongs. So the onions are like, when the onions are like partway there, we're gonna throw the garlic in, do them all at the same time, and then get them out of the pan into the pot, into the magic pot. They really only need to be in here for the browning, because they're going to be cooked very thoroughly in the pot. We may have put a scooch too much oil. We're getting a strange fry on them. But I'm going to give us the garlic now. And the garlic gives us a clock, because it will burn before the onions will. And we want to get it out of there before it burns. Okay, looking good, looking good. Stuff. Got all of these ingredients. A couple things we need to add to the pot. We're going to grind some black pepper directly into it. I don't believe that's a traditional element, but I think it's a good flavor enhancer. Push this stuff around. We're going to throw some tomato powder, some of my homemade tomato powder. Directly into the pot. I've used I don't know how to translate this stuff, but I used 2 teaspoons of it. It doesn't take a lot of tomato in this. How's our browning looking? We're getting a few little toasty edges. I'm going to take the remaining garlic powder from the other day, throw that in, amp up our garlickiness. I want some onion powder. I think we're going to throw in a little bit of onion powder. Same reason, except I don't have any measured out, so just some. Garlic powder, onion powder go in nearly everything. Savory-wise, at least. They neither taste oniony nor garlicky. I think we got enough brown edges on this. I'm going to call it. I want to leave the oil in the pan to a degree, so we're going to awkwardly do it this way. Once these guys are out, we're going to turn the heat up because I only want the meat in the pan to get a good browning sear on the outside. This does not trap in the juices. People keep saying that, and it keeps not being true. It's a long-standing myth with no actual supporting evidence. Actual studies show that doing a hard sear on the outside of your meat releases more juices because it causes the fibers in the muscle to contract and shrink away from each other, which makes the surface more porous. But it does make some really nice, toasty, burnt-ish flavors on the outside. That's the real reason you sear off your meats. It's because you get flavors that you can't get without that hard, directly on metal, or directly on flame, I suppose, contact. All that stuff's gonna have to sort of lay flat at the bottom. Okay. I think that's all the things that go in at this point. Oh, a cinnamon stick. But that's going to go in there whole and be ignored. Cinnamon's an odd choice, but I'm going to follow it because I feel like that's right. I feel like that one I can pick out a hint of cinnamon in the birria. So I'm just going to take a standard old cinnamon stick, break it clean in half, put half of it away, and throw the other half in our pot. We'll fish it out later. It'll infuse while it's in there. Oh heck, I'll give him a bay leaf. I don't believe in bay leaves, but I'll give him a bay leaf. Okay. I am kind of speeding through this first bit. Ooh, we need oregano. We actually do need oregano. I'm speeding through this first part a bit, because I want to get the pressure part of the pressure pot on as soon as possible. Oregano is also going to go in as is. Don't toast your leafy spices, your herbs. They will burn much too fast to get any beneficial effect out of trying to toast them up. Okay. Don't use your wooden cutting board. Use your plastic cutting board for the meat. The meat portion of today's thing. As you can see, this is not a very expensive piece of meat, and I've been seeing these more and more frequently available. These pork shoulder sections. I went out of my way to find one that does not have a bone. They typically have a piece of bone right here. And that's literally the shoulder bone. But the part of the pig this comes from, the bone doesn't go all the way through. So there are pieces like this where the bone isn't in there. And if you're cooking it as a steak, the bone can be nice, although it's kind of an awkwardly shaped bone. It's like this weird little, it's a weirdly shaped bone, because it's like a cross section of a shoulder blade. I'm not going to cut that. Why would I cut that? I'm going to throw that in our pan as is. Our pan that I turned off the heat, of course. Should have left it on. I said I was going to turn it up because it was supposed to be hotter. But I turned it off because I wasn't thinking. So the last time I cooked one of these, I actually did it in the Magic Pot. I did a braise, but I did a fast pressure braise. And the bone caused the whole thing to kind of curl, because obviously the meat all wanted to contract and the bone did not. And since I was cooking it right through, the whole thing kind of contracted. If you're doing it as a steak, where the middle is going to be medium rare or rare, which you can do with pork, do not worry, the bone might actually be good because the whole thing's not going to shrink up as much. We did that once way back. The strawberries and pork, that was this cut, a pork shoulder steak. And I made that one a medium rare, leaning towards rare. But this piece, we don't need to cut it up because it'll fit in that pan because we picked a big pan. So we just need the pan to get hot enough to give us a good immediate sear. Because again, we're not cooking this through. There's no reason to cook this through at this stage. We just need the outsides to get seared. While I'm waiting for the pan to heat up, I will get out other things. I got some chicken stock. No salt added. Which you have to keep in mind because now we'll add our own salt. But if you don't add your own salt, it's going to be under seasoned. So put extra peppers away. I don't need them right now. We're supposed to add some vinegar to this. And I have two options on hand. I have either red wine vinegar or dilute black vinegar. To stand in for the apple cider vinegar, that is the, supposed to be one. And I'm not sure which one I want to go for. We don't need a ton of it, so it's not going to be a huge thing. My pan is smoking, so we're going to go do that right now. We'll think about the vinegar while we are doing this. Listen to that sizzle. Wash my hands. Away, away. Okay. Oh, man. Y'all should give this a go. Maybe as a treat. Just get one of these and cook it like a steak, like a beef steak. Just as a treat. I wouldn't do this all the time, but just as a treat, because it's a good piece of meat, and it cooks like hot and fast surprisingly well. We want it to sort of easily release for the flip, because that means that the surface underneath has hardened off. Bookwoman, hello! You're in time for the big old piece of meat. Behold, a big old piece of meat. This is a pork shoulder steak, which we are just getting a surface sear on before it goes in the Magic Pot with all of our chilies and spices and such, so that we can cook it into absolute oblivion. That's not my best sear. I'm actually turning the heat up as I go. Obviously it's pork, so it doesn't get as richly brown as beef does, just because it's a different critter. Um, we're gonna add enough stock to cover, or mostly cover, and a dash of vinegar. Oh hey, you're here and you didn't get asked the question. What do you think between black vinegar and red wine vinegar for just a couple of teaspoons of vinegar? Tablespoons of vinegar? Tablespoons of vinegar. Since I don't have cider vinegar, which would be the one I would reach for. In terms of acidity, I think the red wine is closer, but I think the dilute black might be more interesting, more complex. And I would just probably add another dose of it. I have plain old white vinegar as well. I have plain old just distilled white. Big old jug. I don't have red aside from red wine. I'm not sure what red vinegar is, honestly. I'm going to be honest. Let's see what this looks like when I flip it around. I think that's about as seared as the steak gets. We'll nestle it into our pot. Heat off. Move this guy off the heat because he's smoking. And we don't need him just now. Well, my red wine vinegar is the same acidity as my distilled white. Oh, actually, my red wine vinegar is more acidic than my distilled white. I guess I got 4% by mistake. That's unfortunate. I got tricked. There's a trend of 4% vinegars I've noticed in the stores. I guess I didn't look well enough. So here's our pot with all of our stuff in it. I'm going to split the difference because we can't seem to agree. So, one of black. What is red vinegar, though? One of red. One of white. Red vinegar, hak mi cho, is made from red rice, barley, and sorghum. Mildly acidic, salty, hint of sweetness. Clear to pale dark, brownish red. Dipping sauce for seafood, especially crab, and for pot stickers and fried noodles. Okay. So the flavor description is not dissimilar to black vinegar, but the use case is a bit different. And I finally figured out how to pour these these things. These things. So in the past, I've always poured them that side first, and then they go glug and they slop around. But pour them like this way, the liquid's at the top, so the air can just get in perfectly fine and not glug around. And I just kind of had the revelation of that. And we fill this to approximately a braising depth. So it's poking out the top, but it's in the liquid. It's the same mic. I have the same microphone. You must have a better speaker. I'm pretty happy with this microphone. When I listen to it, I'm quite happy. It's pretty close to the sounds that I hear when I'm live. We lose a tiny bit of the very low stuff, but for the most part, it's been real good. So it must be on your end, because I don't think I've changed anything. I do move it around a bit sometimes, up and down. Okay, keeping the meat in one big piece is going to be good because it'll be easier to fish it out of there at the end without it disintegrating. I think that's all of our ingredients. This one wants me to add either fish sauce or soy sauce, presumably as a umami booster. And I think I'm just going to give it a shot of MSG instead. Go for a half scooper of MSG instead. And then I already put the pepper in and some salt, which, as mentioned, we used low sodium stock. So just a big old pinch of salt. Blah, blah, blah. Garlic, onions, oregano. We skipped. Actually, I know I put that in. With bay leaves. Yeah, okay. That's all the bits and pieces. So this guy is going to go in the magic pot. It took us 50 minutes to get to putting it in the magic pot, so we might end up running a little long today. I did learn from doing the pork belly. We'll lock it in. I did learn from doing the pork belly that the magic pot does not need as long as I felt like it needed, based on other recipes from the Instant Pot. So I'm going to cut our time down a little bit. Because also our piece of meat is a bit smaller, so we can cut the time down a bit. So we're going to have it in there on pressure cook for just 30 minutes. Oop, and we need to close the vent seal. Okay, you guys cannot see it very well. It is there, the magic pot. And now I can chill out, because that was the part that I was time sensitive, and I did not do it in a timely manner. So the plan is, I'm not going to fully deep fry the lumpia. I'm going to like half fry the lumpia. Lumpia typically have, Ask for pork ask Google for pork lumpia. I'm probably mispronouncing. I don't know any Filipino words really. So yeah, they typically have some vegetable in them, whereas birria tacos, which is the other half of our fusion, typically have no vegetables in them. They're just meat and cheese, and the onion is served as a topping because the tacos are fried together. Whereas lumpia are sealed because they're a wrap, so vegetables stay inside. So, well, for one thing, I will show off that I do indeed have some Oaxaca cheese. So we're putting cheese in these. So they're going to be lumpia with cheese in them. But I'm also going to put some vegetables in them. Definitely green onions, definitely scallions. If we pop back over to the counter, I've got these two kind of over-the-hill ones that'll be great for mincing up and stuffing inside. And then I've got a fresh bundle here that are already going a little bit sad on the top. So we can get a good sort of mix. I like how Chinese steam buns have a lot of fresh green onion in with the cooked meat that gets just lightly cooked by the steaming process. So I'm hoping we hit that sort of perfect balance. And that might be enough vegetable, but I kind of want to shred up some cabbage really finely and throw that in there too. So we will do that. We will have some cabbage that we will shred up. That'll be the first thing I do here. Get my vegetable board back out. And you know what I should do right now, since I've got a moment, is wash off the board and the knife that got the raw meat on them. Before I forget, and since I definitely have a little bit of a slow time in between here. I hope this works out as well as it sounds in my head. I have never made birria. I've been intimidated by the sheer length of time it takes to make it normally. And I have not attempted it since getting this magic pot, which I keep calling the magic pot, but I suppose I should ask the brand to sponsor me and then I'll advertise it specifically. Just had a whole discussion with, it wasn't just me and him, it was the whole chat, but I was in there. So Everdream just had a whole discussion about sponsorships, because there's a rash of businesses that pay the streamers in free product for the sponsorship, which, I mean, sure, it costs the company money, but it doesn't pay the bills on the streamer's end, and it's not really a good deal. So I'm going to we're taking a moment. I probably should have set this so that you guys can see the back of my head. We're going to take a moment and wash all the things that I'm not planning on using immediately. Raisins. That's not a terrible idea. I don't think raisins go with birria, which is a very rich, spicy thing. But the concept of having little sweet bits, I think that's a winner. I have an apple. I could potentially like mince up an apple, throw it in there. The pressure pot's already locked, so I can't throw apple in there. I could have thrown some apple in there actually, and it had it sort of be in the sauce. That could have been good, but it is too late now. Okay. So I'm going to take this opportunity to do a quick wash of all the things. The pressure pot is already up to the 4th stage on its pressure, so I think it might actually get to cooking pretty quick here. Sometimes it just takes ages to pressurize, which probably means I don't have the right amount of liquid in there. This time it's pressurizing pretty fast, so I think I've got the right amount of liquid in there. I only posted that in my Discord, so many of you might not have seen it. But I gave the pizza curry the old pizza test. In my book, there's a pizza test, and what that is can you eat it the next day cold for breakfast? Because I think good pizza, part of good pizza is that you can fish out the leftovers in the morning and have them for breakfast. Well, pizza curry passes the pizza test. It was mighty fine, ice cold out of the fridge, and it also today for lunch I reheated some, and it reheats super well as well. And I've been talking to some other people about it, and just the sheer customization of the concept. I think I got a winner on my hands there, because people are like, oh, I don't like the mushrooms and the olives, but what if you made it with, and then listed off a bunch of pizza toppings? And you know what? They all sound good. They all sound like they would work. There's nothing about it that required any of the parts that I put into it except the crust and the tomato sauce. And even the tomato sauce part is questionable if it's required. So I think we're going to write that one down. Perhaps make it again. Woo! Chelsea, hello. Welcome in. Welcome. The flavor, of course, yeah, you're right. The curry test is that the flavors of a curry meld together and enhance while it's resting overnight. I gave it the pizza test. Now I gotta think, did it do the curry test? I think so. I'm trying to think back, because I had it for lunch. I reheated it for lunch today. So I'm trying to think back to lunch today. I think so. I think that, because remember when I tasted it fresh, I was commenting about how the various parts were still distinct. You could taste the pepper, you could taste the meatball, you could taste all these things as you bit into them. And I think I noticed that less. I think that it did sort of merge into a more cohesive whole while it was resting. although probably not as pronouncedly as traditional curry does. And I think that might be because curry typically has a coconut element in the liquid, and what that does is it helps. There's fat in the liquid. There's dissolved fat in the liquid, and then that helps extract the flavors into the liquid from the chunky bits. And in my case, I didn't have that. Mine was thickened with tomato, although there was some cheese in there too. Um, oh yeah, actually, now that I mentioned that, the chunks of paneer, they still had their paneer texture, but they were infused with the flavors of the sauce. By the time I got back to it, they didn't have that distinct cheese flavor anymore. They were infused. So yeah, I was really happy with that one, and that's just, I don't know, that one just kind of came to me as a like, what if I just take, because we've all heard of curry pizza, and I was just like, what if I just take a thing that was already a fusion food and just kind of reverse it, and then just um, Fresh Bot has just beeped at me, which means we are cooking over there. I can smell it too. It vented a little bit while it was pressurizing up. Yeah, I think that one was a winner. It wasn't, I'm not going to say it was the most delicious thing I've ever made, but I think it was pretty easy and pretty, like, open to customization, open to just all-around goodness. So I'm just going to grab some cabbage. We're going to shred. I don't have another idea like that on tap. I need a suggestion box. I need to put a suggestion box in the Discord. Oh, speaking of which, hey, let me link my Discord to anyone who's watching. So hey, I have a Discord. There's not much going on there. I post pictures and notifications that I'm going live in my Discord. But that'd be a good place for a suggestion box. I'm trying to think of what I want to do with the Discord, which is why it's kind of not much there right now, because my community is so small. But if you want to join up, it's a place to see the nicer versions of the pictures that I take during the end phase, and also a notification when I go live, which I need to remember to always put there. But everyone's welcome. Seems like a good time for it. I always forget. That's something I gotta get on a bot. And the bot can be like, hey, join the Discord. So we're shredding the cabbage very thinly because I don't want any big pieces. I want to give it every chance to soften up a bit when we end up frying the lumpia at the end. Because I don't really want that crunch of fresh cabbage in our finished product. Which also means I'm probably going to throw out the tail end here, because that's the thick part where the leaves attach. Oh yeah, and you're welcome to post pictures of your cooking in the Discord as well. I love seeing other people's things. I need to make more like sub channel. Yeah, other people's cooking as well. Yours, I love seeing other people's projects too. Um, okay. So we're just going to peel off the gnarly bit there and the gnarly bit there. These, less concerned about getting them perfect. Having them sort of a little rougher will, I think, help them bind into the other ingredients when we get to filling the lumpia. And dried up little tail ends can go away. I think I want another one. Though it's the wrong season for it, but in the nicer weather, you can save these little guys with the roots. Even when they're cut really tight like that, plant them, and your green onion will grow right back from the top. I actually have some in the front window that I should probably be using, but I'm using the ones that are here in the fridge right now. Ooh, New York strip. I haven't had beefsteak in quite a while. What was I reaching for? I was reaching for a bowl to hold the green onions. Yeah, for once I'm using a piece of meat that didn't come out of the bargain bunker. I bought it new because it's an affordable piece of meat, even brand new. As always, do as I say, not as I do. Don't cut any things like this with your fingers pointed. You should always learn proper technique. And I know how to do it. I just need to remind myself and also practice. Dried up ends can go away. Okay, that should be plenty of green onions. We want green onion to be a major component of the filling. And I'm unsure of how much shredded meat I'm going to end up with at the end, so I'm erring high on both of them. I'm erring a little high on both of these. This is more than I think I'm going to need. Let's wipe down. We don't need to do a thorough wash because this was just onion, but I don't want a bunch of onion juice getting on everything. This guy is the next one up, because with this is not optional. It's not a birria taco. You can make birria without the cheese, but it's not a birria taco without the cheese. Where's my scissors? Scissors. Oaxaca is very similar to mozzarella, and if you can't find Oaxaca, reach for some mozzarella. When I made the all-American pizza, wow, that was ages ago. When I made the all-American pizza ages ago, I used Oaxaca as the cheese because it has properties very similar to mozzarella, but it's from Mexico instead of from Italy, which is America. And we need it shredded. We don't need this whole thing shredded, but we need a good chunk of it. There's also just a tasty cheese. It's soft, it's mild. It's a little bit springy. It's a little more springy than mozzarella. I think that's a good comparison. It's also not typically stored wet. This is the normal way I've seen Oaxaca, is just in kind of a ball like this. You hardly ever see mozzarella. Although you can just get a block of mozzarella, but you hardly ever see mozzarella just kind of in a glob like this that's not then also in that brine liquid. Cheese. And it's just a nice mild. It's just a nice mild cheese. It's very good at melting. It's a very melty cheese, which is what it's going to be doing for us here. Boy, that is a good cheese. I got to get this stuff more often. Just as a general use cheese, it's a very tasty thing. If you make a quesadilla, this is the cheese you're supposed to use in a quesadilla. Like, so it's good at quickly melting and gluing a taco or similar thing together, which is what it's doing here in the birria, because it's supposed to glue the birria taco together when you fry it. I'm not going to grate any more because I can always grate more on short notice if I need to. Tasty cheese, though. We are going to bag that guy up. Okay. I think we are looking at mostly prepped. I want to put apple. Yuri is on board for apple. Do I want apple? There's going to be quite a bit going on in here already. I'm also hungry because, I don't eat before this. This is my dinner. Which means when I get something that I can nibble on during the process, I go kind of hard. I would take this time if I was just making lumpia. I would take this time to make the dipping sauce for the lumpia. But in this case, the dipping sauce is the birria juice, which means I can't get at it until the pressure pot is done with its work. And I can't assemble the little rolls. If I was just making the sauce, I would take this time to assemble the rolls. I can't do that because the meat is in there. And it's got 15 minutes left on it. So, what can I do as a side piece? You want a goose? I found a goose today, just $110 for one goose. I didn't buy it. It seemed too expensive. I did find. Oh, here I'll take this opportunity to show off. It was a whole goose, $11 a pound, and then it's geese typically are 10 to 12 pounds. So which it said on the label. Seemed too expensive. What I did find, and then I found it again at a different store cheaper, but it was too late because I had bought it already. Turkey necks. Then with a piece of plastic over them so you can't even see the necks, but turkey necks. We'll do something fun with those later on. Those are frozen, so they will hold. I also found ducks at Woodman's for $4 a pound, and they're like, I don't know, duck-sized. I'm not sure what we're going to do with turkey necks. I don't want them to sit in there forever, so we're going to use them soon. I'm cooking up ideas for next week for Thanksgiving. I'm not doing a show on Thanksgiving. I will be away. But I want to do a Thanksgiving thing in the week leading up to it. One thing I got, I'm going to have to do this as its own experiment just to see if it works. I bought some boxed stuffing, and I want to grind it into a powder and see if I can't convert it into a shapeable, workable dough. And see if I can't use it as a outer casing for something. It might need to have an egg added to it to make it bind. But that is a plan. That is an experimental plan. Let's see. Instant Pot Birria. Take the meat out, put it in a bowl. Get rid of the bay leaves and the cinnamon stick. Shred the meat, blend the sauce. So yeah, what do you guys think? Plans for Thanksgiving? While we're talking about it, meal-wise, I mean, I'm probably gonna see your families, or if you're out of the U.S., maybe you're gonna see nothing. Finadine basted grilled chicken, finadine sauce. Finadine. Finadine. From Guam. That does look good. Vinegar, soy, onions, peppers. That looks good. I gotta say that looks good. Is that what you're having for Thanksgiving? Finadine? Probably pronouncing that wrong, because I'm not sure what language it is. Okay. Gonna take this opportunity to start heating up some oil. I didn't buy extra oil today. So we're just using my existing oil, which means I don't want to just completely deep fry, but I need at least like a little bit of depth. Or these won't fry up very well. So we're going to use more than I typically would. But I'm not doing it deep enough. I'm probably not even doing it deep enough to hit a temperature mark on it. But I want it to at least start getting part of the way to hot before I need it. Otherwise it will take tomorrow. I'm unfamiliar. Tomorrow is the indigenous language of the Mariana Islands. Interesting. Interesting. Fascinating. I have never been there. I've never been to that part of the world in general. The things that I have cooked from the region and eaten from the region that other people have cooked have been delicious. I think they are some of the most creative chefs in the world in that region, using ingredients like a lot of chefs. A lot of traditional cuisines resist new ingredients, and I feel like that part of the world just dives in on new ingredients. You made it again. You should post pictures when you make it. We can workshop it. And as long as it's tasty, I think you're doing it right. Frankly, if it's tasty, if it's delicious, I say you're doing it right. It's only wrong if it's gross. We have a spot of downtime. And I didn't plan a side dish. I'm gonna get some of the best Halloween candy corn, to nibble on. Nibble. I feel like I should be making something. I feel like I should be making something right now. What should I be making? So I can get these guys out and warm them up. Hi, Mags. Welcome, welcome. You've caught us in a little bit of a time gap, as there's some minutes left on the pressure pot, but all of the other elements are ready to go. They're just waiting on that pressure pot. So I'm brainstorming what I can do while something quick I can do in the meantime. How's your day going? My day is already pitch dark outside, because it's winter and I live far enough north that it's pitch dark. It's a strange dilemma because all the things that I would make are already in there, and all the things that go with it are too simple. Get all the limes. Limes are definitely a vital component of what we're making. The kitchen is 90% done. They're still working on that thing? Come on. If you're unaware, Mags has been in the throes of redoing their entire kitchen and comes here to vicariously cook through me because they can't cook at home. Pork intestines in blood stew. Now, I was just reading up about blood as a food item for Saizan, who was asking about it in the Discord. And I did come across that. I believe specifically that because I found a blood and offal stew from Indonesia. So it might not be literally exactly that one, but it's probably very similar. Should have cut these into sixths instead of eighths. That was an interesting study, and I both want to try and am afraid to try some of the things I discovered in that research. The most fascinating. I'll tell you a story. The most fascinating thing that I found. First of all, there's a lot of cultures around the world that eat blood. Usually cooked, not always, but usually cooked into a stew. Almost always with an acid, and almost always with some other kind of meat in there as well. And I believe the acid, as it was to prevent the blood from coagulating when it's cooked, because I guess it wants to do that. But the most fascinating one was the Maasai recipe of fresh cow's blood mixed with fresh cow's milk. And then you either drink it or you let it ferment and then drink it. So it's not cooked at any stage, which is the only one I could find as like a standard cuisine. So that was the strangest one. I'm not opposed to eating blood in general. Oh, excuse me. Oh, damn it! I punched my microphone. They have it at the Asian grocery store, one of the Asian grocery stores in town. So I've looked at it a few times. And one of these days I'll buy it and we'll play around with it. Could have done it for Halloween, but I did not. I went with pumpkins instead. Pumpkins and beets. Oh, we are down to 2 minutes on the pressure pot. So probably not enough time to start a new project to do a side piece at the moment. Just having a fun time. A little bit of chit chat. Because I know once we get to the fun part afterward, we're gonna get to a fun part afterwards. Cover with a damp cloth. Deep fry. We're not deep frying. We're shallow frying. And that's it. No other special things. I think a dab of water to help it seal would be good. So I'm going to get a little bowl of water out. And I suppose we don't need the board, because they won't really fit on the board anyways. So I sliced up the limes because limes are necessary. Lumpia is not lumpia. Well, lumpia is greasy too, but birria is a fatty, greasy thing, and you really need some bright, fresh sharpness to balance it out. Okay. Let that oil get hot. We're down to 30 seconds. So I'm going to bring us up to the main event. The main event panel. Let's swoop us over a little bit. Ooh, air fried. We're not doing that this time because that would be the same device that they're in right now that I would have to scrub out and swap because it's a combo unit. But maybe. We'll give that a try sometime. We'll give that a try someday when we're not using it for the filling. There's our beep, beep, beep. I think that we can just do an instant pressure release. This, for an instant pot, they want it a slow release, but in the previous things I've done with pork, they just have you go for it. I'll do the moisten first. Thank you for the moisten. I've been chit-chatting a lot. Moist. So I guess we just hit the thing. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it. I swiveled the camera so you could maybe see it, but there it goes. You can see it. There it goes. It's loud. I will give you a heads up. I should be giving more heads ups about what I'm planning on cooking on my Discord channel anyways. That'd be a good use for that. Okay. It's getting quieter. We're going to find out together if this has worked, if this has been enough time. Half an hour should have been enough time to get it nice and soft in the meat part, but we will. Yeah, I'll have to go in and make more sub channels to and put proper controls on some of them too, so that I can have like an announcements channel that other people can't post in. I should put my emotes over there too, because you can do that. You can cross-link your emotes from Twitch to Discord. So we're going to find out together if this has indeed worked. Last time I did a pork steak like that, I only pressure cooked it for 20 minutes, and with nothing else in there, just a simple broth. And it was soft enough that I could pull it apart with my fingers. So I think the meat's going to be good. The question is, are the peppers, which were dried peppers, are they going to have softened up enough to blend into the sauce? That might be the trick. Let's unlock. Swivel us back over. I can smell that. That's getting hot. We're going to get out a glass bowl. Oops. Okay, so the meat has got to come out. Hopefully, it's structurally sound enough to come out in one piece. Because I really don't want to have to fish chunks of it out right now. But also soft enough that I can just shred it. Oh, it's real soft. Okay, we're going to have to be really careful with it. Okay. It is, in fact, coming apart, but in big pieces, so we're not losing it in the mix so far. So it is well past the point of pulling apart with my fingers. It is a it's there. It's well past the point where it pulls apart with my fingers, and it pulls apart just by picking it up, and it sort of tears off because it's so soft. So 30 minutes is like mega tender for this piece of meat. We need to see how soft the peppers are. They seem pretty soft. Oop, how do they get on the outside? Mmm. 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 Let me bring it over so you guys can see it. Should have done this right away. So this is the birria. The meat is not the birria. This stuff is the birria. And it just needs to have been pressure boiled enough. And normally this would take many hours so that these guys are soft enough that you can blend them. Because we're gonna use a stick blender and blend them up. They look like they've gotten pretty soft. They kind of break apart when I pull on them. Some of them were poking out the top just a little bit, and I think they are a little bit less. Oops. That is a piece of meat. The meat does not get blended in. We have to find all the pieces of meat that are in, they might have broken off in here. So any longer than this time, and we would have lost a lot more of the meat in the mix because it would have just disintegrated. So 30 might have been actually the upper limit for the meat, and I'm hoping it's enough for the peppers. We also got to find that cinnamon stick. The ones that were down in the there's our cinnamon stick. Because that never softens up. The cinnamon stick never softens up. There should be a bay leaf in here as well, and that might be really hard to find. Shouldn't have put it in after all. But yeah, that's what you do. You blend this up now that it's all cooked, and this is the sauce. This is the birria. That's garlic. That's a piece of garlic. I don't think we're going to find that bay leaf. Gonna let the oil just sort of stay hot over there and be ready for us. But like hot low, not hot high. The meat needs to be cooled off enough that I can get my hands in there and shred it. So I'm going to just set that to the side, and we're going to do the sauce part. And the easiest way to do it, I think, is to just... The problem is it's a little bit... Ow, that pot is hot. Oh my god. It's a little bit shallow in here. I might not get really good immersion. We can try it, but I might transfer it to just something that's narrower so that it gets a little bit deeper. We have to dig out the immersion blender. I will say, it smells just like birria. So I'm very hopeful that we are on point. We could do it with a measuring cup. We could do it with the vessel that actually comes with this thing. It actually comes with the stick blender. The base is the perfect width. The base is the perfect width for the stick to go in. But getting it from there into there is going to be a little bit. There's going to be a little bit of loss because this is such a wide mouth. It's going to be hard to pour something that chunky, and it might overfill this guy. He's a little bit small for that volume. We could do it in stages, but I'm going to attempt it just in the pot right away, as is, before I go mucking about with other vessels, because ideally, we don't need another vessel. It can be blended right in the thing here. I just have to be careful because the pot here is hot. Okay. I always forget how you're supposed to... Like that. Okay. Lock or unlock low. I found the bay leaf. We're getting a lot of splatter, and I'm having a hard time getting some of the chunks. So I am going to, unfortunately, do the thing. I would forgive the splatter if I was actually getting the job done, but it's not quite getting the job done, and I'm getting a lot of splatter while I make attempts at it. So we're going to do a quick transfer. Some of the pepper seeds are still hard, which I guess I'm not surprised by. I hope they blend up. I didn't see any loose coriander seeds. I do have a ladle. That's probably a good idea. That's probably a good shout. I even have a ladle that's spouted on the sides for pouring. What would I do if you weren't here to tell me not to be an idiot? Oh yeah, this is going to overfill this thing for sure. I just want to get the chunks out. And then we will move this part away. Yeah, there's more in there than this guy can handle. It's not meant for that large of a volume. I honestly think it would be easier if it was just a slightly narrower pot, so that the depth of the stuff was just a bit deeper. Now that is what I'm talking about. It did make a mess again. This stuff is very splattery. This stuff is heckin' splattery. If I had one of those high performance blenders, you know, those like $400 blenders, I could just pour this whole thing right in the blender and go nuts. My blender is one of those cheapo ones that you can't put boiling hot soup into. Okay. How do I... It's going to be more than I need anyways, so... I'm just getting a bowl. Okay, so we'll take the remaining stuff, blend it up the same way, because that worked. Or at least make sure to get all the chunks in there. Pot has cooled off enough for me to pick it up as well, so... Boy, this stuff is very splattery. How's it taste? Whoa. Whoa! How's it taste? No comment. You'll find out later. Nope. It's too touchy for the high speed. Oh, there'll be plenty of this sauce for lots of things. Like, I think you're supposed to make this with just like a whole roast, and then you've got all of this sauce. But then, even then, there's always more sauce than stuff. It is a little bit of a mess. I might have to workshop a better method for this in the future. It's probably a little thin for pizza sauce. It's also not tomatoey at all. Like, there's a little bit of tomato in there, but this is a pepper-forward sauce. Pepper is the main flavor profile here. So you could, but you wouldn't really taste like a pizza. Okay. I mean, yeah, you would call it a birria pizza. It would be a fusion a fusion food. Okay, and then we're gonna make one final mess. Damn. Just to blend it all together. Okay, we will workshop solutions for that in the future. Because that was not ideal, and I think it would have been easier if I had made either more of it or less of it. If I made more of it, I could have blended it right in that thing without because it would have been deep enough to get the thing in. And if I made less of it, I could have fit it into a vessel a little better. There's little red speckles all over everything, everywhere around here. So that's not ideal. There's going to be definitely a bit of cleanup today. We have a ton of this stuff, which I'm just going to set out of the way while there's little Birria speckles on all of my other ingredients. We're going to set them out of the way. We're going to take a moment. We're going to take a moment here. Ah, there's speckles on my spice rack. There's speckles on my wall. Oh. That's not ideal. Are there speckles on my screen? Yep, speckles on the screen. Speckles on the everything. Speckles on the pepper jar. Okay. Thankfully, the amount of mess it makes does not affect how it tastes. So we're still good on that front. We'll open up those. We'll pull this guy back to the center. This needs to be shredded up. And it should be, in theory, yeah, cool enough to stick my finger into, but we'll shred it with a fork anyways. It'll just be a fork assisted with your hand. Super tender. So when I made the pork belly, I followed a guide for Instant Pot that said, first of all, people on Reddit let me down. They said you can't do pork belly in your Instant Pot. It doesn't save very much time. And they said put it in for 2 hours. And everyone was adamant that you couldn't shortcut it by that much. It shaves a little bit of time off, but not nearly as much as other types of things. And that was a damn lie. Because when I put my pork belly in for 1 hour, it was so disintegratingly tender that I could barely get it out of the pot. So I don't know if Instant Pots just don't work the same way, but this is half hour and it basically mashes with a fork. It's so tender. Granted, this isn't belly, this is a different piece, but I think the concept holds. This actually should be a tougher cut than the belly. let's taste this as is. Oh, it's so tender. It melts like butter. Mm. Boy, that magic pot, let me tell you, it's magic. Okay. These guys, we need a damp paper towel. We're going to use a damp paper towel just to keep them from drying out while I'm working. And we need to bring all of our sub-ingredients back over. Because now we are on to the fun part of assembly. Okay, damp paper towel covers up the stack. Bring over our shredded cabbage, onions, and cheese. Open these guys up, peel one off. They're sticking together a little bit, which is not what I wanted them to do. But they are coming apart. Oh, but then they're sticking at the other... Weird, why is it sticking like that? It's really sticking. It's tearing. Oh, that's not good. These are brand new. Why are they doing this? Well, they got little tears, but we can probably get those tears... I'm going to crease on this side too. We can probably get those tears to the interior so they won't matter to our structural integrity. Okay. We don't need the fork. That is cooled off enough for my... touch it with my fingers. Is that too full, do we think? Possibly. No, it's looking just about right, actually. And a little water dish, which I did not get handy, to seal the flap. There you go. A lumpia. I'm just going to put those on the board, which is off to the side here. They don't really seal the way rice paper does. So maybe the bowl of water isn't useful. Okay, the next one is less stuck to the one below it than the first one was, so it's probably just a surface issue. The one on the outside got damaged somehow. Okay. Good time for an ad break, because now I'm just making the dang things. Well, you want to squeeze them in pretty tight. We don't want a lot of air in there because any air that's in there now will try to expand when we fry them. And can potentially rupture the sides, although we're not doing a deep fry, so we're at less of a risk of that, just because the whole thing isn't going to be immersed all at the same time. I tore my wet paper towel because it's a wet paper towel. But I'm pretty happy. I think we've got a good number of them coming up based on the amount of ingredients I've got. I might have to shred some more cheese, but I mentioned that. They're holding their shape as I build them, which is another issue I've had in the past with things like this, wrapped things. Remember when I think, was it the first one or was it the second one? I made lumpia at one point, and I made firecracker, or no, dynamite lumpia, which contained a whole pepper with the stem sticking out as the little fuse. They were so cute, and they were really tasty, but they were really spicy. What kind of lumpia have you made / eaten / would like to see? Perhaps you've never had lumpia and you wonder what they are. Or you've never had them and they look amazing. My understanding is that they're kind of viewed as a celebration thing. I was talking to Morgan. Morgan? Yeah. Who is a big fan of Indonesian food. Or Filipino food? Indonesian / Filipino food. Who said that they're really good, but you don't get them made at home except for special occasions. Behind me, there's this constant metal creaking sound because I have that oil on the burner on so that it's hot when I dig over there. And it's not hot. Oh, actually, it's smoking just a tiny, tiny bit, which is strange because that's grapeseed oil, which shouldn't be smoking at all. So we're going to turn it down just a little bit. So hopefully these don't explode. But I don't believe that lumpia are meant to contain any kind of cheese. So we'll find out together. We're just going to go until I run out of something. One of the main ingredients here. Looks like I'm going to be having a little bit of a late dinner today, because this is taking a tiny bit longer than I would typically prefer. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm glad the problem with the wrappers was just the very first one. Uncle Stinky? Yeah, I mean, I suppose I remember it taking longer from the time I made it once before, and the wrapping process took a big chunk of the time that I hadn't really accounted for. Also, hi, welcome in. I don't think I welcomed you. You're the same color as Ryuya on my screen, so you might have blended in. We're going to temperature test that oil before I put any of these guys actually in it. I want to make sure that they don't get oil logged. Because they're already going to be pretty greasy. So we don't really want them to be even greasier, if we can help it. But hey, how you doing? How you been? Extracted you from Lurk, I think. You know, this would be a terrible time for somebody to redeem a Moisten. I don't know why I said that. Because it really would be. But, I think we're going to run just a tiny bit short on the cheese, based on my use rates for all these various parts. So I might take a stop and just grate a tiny bit more cheese. Oh, what's my time looking at? Oh, that's not bad. Well, we still got frying and then tasting to go through, so... Oh, there's seeds in my meat. I didn't de-seed my meat. We're gonna have to do something with that extra birria. Because I do have quite a bit of it there. I mean, I imagine we have as much there as the amount of liquid I put in total, so we've got about 2 pints, maybe a pint and a half of birria to work with. Ooh, lasagna. Maybe. Again, it's a bit runnier than like Italian-style tomato sauces. So we'd have to keep that in mind and adjust around that fact. Sure, we could you could always treat it, yeah. We could do that, or we could even try reducing it just to thicken it the normal way, because it has quite a few things in it that should thicken it. It's just that it has a big volume of liquid. Okay, this is going to be the last one that has cheese, unless I grate more cheese. Or cheat and do mozzarella, because there's a little bit of pre-grated mozzarella still kicking around from the pizza. Or I could just say this is the last one and snack on the remaining ingredients. Because that would give us 12. And fill up my board. So probably should just stop and say we've got 12. And then I've just got a little snacker. Damn, that stuff's good. Okay, I'm going to say that we have 12, and that the remaining ingredients are extra. Because it's easier for me that way. I want another towel and a catching plate, which can be... Oh, I know. We will use the small tray. Here. Perfect. Okay. Fun part. Actual frying of the thing. We're going to temperature test my oil. See what we're at. Because we should be right in the realm I'm looking for. Hopefully just above. Seems to be holding at about 350. So we're actually just exactly at, which means we're a little bit low. So you know what? I'm going to make one more, and I'm going to do it as a tester with no cheese. And it'll be the start one, just to see how the stuff behaves, because then I can not have a bunch of extra ingredients. Okay, so the meat and the cheese are donezo. That's the end of the green onion, which I didn't have as much extra as I thought I was going to have. And almost the end of the cabbage, which I had just the right amount for. Okay. I seem to recall, and I can't remember what I made, what specifically it was, because there was a brief time there when I was making Filipino stuff, frequently, like regularly. Because I was really enamored with it. And I remember putting cheese in another lumpia, but I don't remember the context. I was following a recipe, so this has to have existed. Okay. That guy's our test case. Just to see how everything behaves. Leftovers tonight, cabbage and beef stew or pork tenderloin with squash and baked potatoes. Those both sound good, and how do you have leftovers of either of those things? This oil is definitely a little shallower than it needs to be for this project, but I am not willing to sacrifice more of my oil at this point. We're just gonna make do. I guess they're gonna be like little triangles, because we're gonna do side, side, and then third side. I have picked out the plate we're going to use for this already. We're going to use the black one because it will pop against the white ramekin of birria sauce. And I think I can make a nice little stack pyramid. So that's that. Cook for yourself. I know that pain. It's so hard to cook for one and not have leftovers. Okay. Yeah. I think our oil is pretty good. I did kick the temperature up a bit. I'm going to kick it up a little bit more because I think our sizzle rate has slowed down and we're taking on oil a little fast. This should be deep fried if you can at all manage it. And I should have purchased a jug of cheap oil. I don't have a deep fry oil anymore. I used up my last one and I have not replaced it. You're looking pretty good. We'll put you there. See what that did to our temperature. Dropped it, but not massively, and it's already bouncing back. So I'm just going to go ahead and soldier forth with more than one at a time. Since we have 12, we can, oh, shoot. And that one slipped when I was putting it down and partially unrolled. That's not good. Since I have 12 of them, plus the extra one, I should be able to do this 3 times with 4 of them and have them come out good. I need to make a note to be very careful when putting them down that I don't partially unroll them because they are not stuck very strongly together. The frying is what makes them hold their shape. This is why we couldn't use these as the ghosts for Halloween, because although they're nice and pale when they're raw, you got to cook them and they turn brown. I'm sure they would have been delicious, but they wouldn't have looked like ghosts. And this one's going to be a hard flip. Well, that one's going to be at the bottom of the stack because I screwed it up. I almost want to put them over here a little bit more, just because it's deeper on this side, because my stovetop slants that way a little bit. I like the little tail, the little partly unfolded triangle that they're developing from the fry here. Oh, that splashed me and is very, very hot. Ow. Thankfully, they were tiny, tiny speckles instead of a big splash, but caution. Caution, hot oil. Turns out it's hot. Who would have thought? Okay. I like our process. We're going to keep going. Okay. Pardon me, my phone is ringing. Well, if they want to get back to me, they can leave a message, which I won't listen to. An unknown number calling at a strange time of the evening. That's exactly what I want to answer. There are actually some calls I'm hoping for. So, as much as it's a joke, I did go and check it, but I did not answer because, again, we're busy. Who calls at 7 o'clock at night? Or whatever time it is. 7 o'clock at night, yeah. It's none of the things I'm waiting for, because they wouldn't call at 7 o'clock at night. Spam interrupting my dinner is what it is. We have an ad coming up. Tell you what, I'm going to run the ad early, as in right now, to get it out of the way so that it doesn't interrupt us later when we're doing something more exciting than watching these little tubes fry. So I will see you in a minute and a half. For those of you still here, trying to be better about running the ads early so they don't interrupt us at important times. That one looks really good already. I have to remember which one of these is the weird one, because that can't be the one we taste. And that's the final. That's the final one. So actually, while those are getting started, I will start assembling our stack with the weird one at the bottom and the partially unrolled one at the bottom and that really pale one at the bottom. And this broken one can go on the side on the bottom. Ooh, those are still too hot to handle. Welcome back from the ad that ran. Let's see. Let's put the other wrappers away. We have enough wrappers here to do this again twice over. How many pieces are in here? 25, and I made 13, so we could do another dozen. That seems about like a good amount for the wrapper here. And if I'd made a proper sized batch of birria, we would have made all of them. Yes, the birria is typically for dipping. The way it's done in like a birria taco is the way it's done in a birria taco is the tortilla is dipped in the birria, put on a hot skillet, filled, folded over, fried until it sticks, and then you are served with more birria sauce as a dip on the side. I didn't think that dipping the lumpia in the birria before I assembled them was a good idea. And I didn't want the interiors to be too liquidy, so I didn't add any extra to the insides. All that's inside is what was available, or all that's inside is what was on the meat. So just a bit. But yes, the birria sauce is used as a dip. And when you go to a Mexican place and you order birria, they come and they are greasy and dripping in sauce, and then you're given another sauce on the side for even more saucing. It's a very drippy, messy thing. It's delicious. So that's why I did not make a sauce to go with the lumpia, because we have our birria. Which is going to go in this ramekin because I think it's going to pop really nicely on the black plate. Gonna have to let these guys cool off before I can handle them. But I believe they are fried on the bottoms about how I want them to be. Okay, heat off. That's how they come from the taco truck. Yeah, that's that's how they're meant to be served. Greasy and dripping, and then with even more sauce for even more dripping. So while our last couple are cooling enough for me to handle, I'm going to have to fill my ramekin up carefully with our sauce. And then I have seen the sauce itself garnished with green onion. Now I used all my green onion because I thought I was going to have a little bit extra, and I did not. But that's how I've seen it before, is a little sprinkle of green onion on top of the, I'm going to give us just a little sprinkle of green onion to garnish the sauce, because I have some that I don't have to cut a whole one for. Because as mentioned, there's some growing in my window. I can just cut a partial stem, or one of the small ones, as a quick topper. Yeah, birria is as mentioned, birria is the sauce cooked with the meat. You can apply it in many, many different ways, without leaving Mexico. You can also just eat it as a stew. Like, that is an option. And I believe that was the original thing of it. It was a pepper meat stew, and you would cook it just like we did, but the pieces would have been cut a little bit more for eating, and then it wouldn't have been blended at the end. That's less common, but I believe that was the original thing. It was just we've evolved it into the messy, gloopy thing because people wanted to put that stew into things. Okay. Black Keeper 2. What have you done with Black Keeper 1? Hello. Welcome. You're just in time for the most exciting part of the day. Tasting this nonsense. Although I need to take my photos. And I want to break one of these guys open for it. So we're gonna sacrifice one. Tiny bit of cheese pull, not a massive cheese pull. Nice and crispy. Gotta arrange these so that the insides are visible to the camera. There. Okay. So, I said you were here for the most exciting part. You're here for the least exciting part, which is when I leave the room and take photos. But then after that is the most exciting part where I taste. So, I swoop around the corner to my little photo booth. open up my tablet. Hope it doesn't freak out on me. Sometimes it does. And I'm going to go ahead and give one of these guys a dip and add that to my photo op of a dipped one. Okay, lots of photos coming back, coming back. Okay, here we go. So this is what I took the photo of. We split one. I dipped the corner of that guy. Well, I took the photos, dipped the corner of the guy, and then took more photos with it dipped. So I can pick between them. Oh! The limes were supposed to be on the plate. I said at the beginning, the limes are important. Oh well. The limes are important, because you need some acidity to balance this whole mess out. I will potentially take an additional photo with the limes, but I'm going to taste it now. We're not going to go... We've already dipped this guy, so he's going to be our taste tester. Wish me luck. Mmm. Mmm. Well, that is fantastic. That is fantastic. So it's got that beautiful, lovely, crispy exterior. Would have been a little bit better if we got them for a full deep fry, but I don't have enough oil for that. But we still got lots of surface of that really beautiful, crispy lumpia exterior. The cheese, I'm surprised because there's not that much in there. The cheese gives it this really like gooey, creamy feeling. The cabbage cooked, so it's not crunchy in there. Mmm. Did the camera catch that? I got a cheese pull on that one. Mmm. These are really damn good. They do need the sauce. The meat is rich and meaty, but it did not absorb a ton of the flavor from the sauce. So liberally dip with the sauce. Mmm. Mmm. Because the sauce, the birria, which is not fusion anything, this is just standard birria. It's thick because of the blended peppers. It's spicy. It's smoky, which I'm going to attribute to successfully toasting our peppers in advance, although the guajillo and the ancho are both smoked peppers, so we probably got the smokiness just because those were pre-smoked. Yeah, we should try it with some lime. I'm not going to split the next one. I'm going to give it a squeeze. So the purpose of the lime is because this is such a greasy thing that we really need the acidity to balance it out. Mm. Small cheese stretch. Mmm. I'm going to say I don't think every bite needs a lime, But the lime definitely lends a bright sharpness that is a good counterpoint to this overall greasy thing. But I think what the lime is doing here is it's letting you eat more of it. Because this would get heavy and greasy and like slow you down. The lime makes it a little brighter, a little lighter in your mouth. So you can go back for more. So squeeze that lime right into the middle. I'm really impressed at how the cheese is worked in these little fried lumpias. I knew it would melt, but I was worried it would try to explode out. Mm. Mm. So I'm glad I actually used the Oaxaca cheese, because the Oaxaca cheese, I know from my own experience, is good for fried things like this. It's low moisture, but it melts really well. Mm. They are a little one note without the sauce, but I don't think that's a problem, because we have tons of the sauce. Um, mm. I mean, there's not much more to say about them. They're rich, they're meaty, they're crispy, they're greasy. I feel like I could probably eat this whole stack and then I would feel terrible, but I wouldn't slow down. Because this is quite a bit. The the green onion gives just a hint in there. It's really overwhelmed by the amount of everything else that's in there, but it gives just a little hint. The cabbage is mostly there for texture, I think. I'm not really tasting it, and it cooked enough that it's not really crunchy, which is what I was going for. So it's kind of just filling it in, which I suppose it makes these a little bit better, because they are kind of greasy and heavy, and having the cabbage there to take up some space means that I'm not getting just straight meat and cheese, as delicious as that would be. I think you could probably swap the cabbage out for something like radish. I think radish would actually go really well in this, because it has a more assertive flavor that wouldn't get quite as lost. We could workshop the things to accompany it, but the main event here definitely is a I'm going to call this a success. It helps that I'm hungry, but also this is really tasty. This one, it doesn't feel, at least in my mind, as much of a fusion, as radical of a fusion as some other things I've done. But maybe that's just me, because I've done several fusions at this point. I know there's a bit of a stigma around fusion. I'm going to have to really scrub my countertop. It made a mess today. I'm very impressed. I'm going to go polish these guys off. I'm probably not going to take a backup photo with the limes. We're just going to say, oh well, I forgot the limes. But they are good for eating. Yeah. We are out of things to talk about. We're going to have to come up with things to do with this. I'm obviously not throwing that away. It was a lot of work to make it. You think it'll fit in there? Maybe. I'm going to go with a hard maybe. Yeah, so I wish I could stuff one. I wish I could stuff one through the camera for y'all, because I probably shouldn't eat all these, but this is pretty damn good. This would be a good party food. Blackkeeper has a question. Have you ever tried Swiss food? I don't believe so, unless Swiss cheese counts. I don't know that I've explored Central European food much. I've been over on the Spanish end, and I've been on the Spanish end and I've been on the Eastern end, but I think I've kind of skipped over the middle, the flyover part of Europe. I don't think so. It would be something to look into. We're going to work on that, the Discord, make some fun places to go. You could drop that in the suggestions. I cannot pronounce that Swiss word. I've made little cheesecake. I've made mini cheesecake. I have a somewhere in here. I have a tiny springform pan. I've made a tiny cheesecake. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce that Swiss word because I know I'm going to say it wrong. I'm going to pull up my raid bar here and look at who's on that we can drop everyone off at. What was I saying? I was saying something. I forgot. So yeah, this was a lot of fun. Oh, I was saying this would be a good party food. This would be a good party thing because you could make a big batch of it like I did. You could make a bigger batch with a larger piece of meat and have even more to go with, and then have the group fold the little lumpias instead of me sitting here doing every little one, because that part is pretty easy. You just take the filling and roll it up. They're very straightforward to roll once you've got the folds. So that part, and then there'd be a ton of them getting ready, and then one person would be over here frying them as they get folded up. I think they would be an excellent food for a party, for a group with audience interaction. Let's pull up an actual Twitch page and see who all is on. There's 1 million people on right now. I don't see someone completely new. We're gonna go see someone completely, well, not completely new to me, but completely new to you. Who is just chatting, and I have seen in many places recently, Odd Girls Out has been in so many of the channels that I frequent. All of a sudden, all these crossovers. Looks like just one of the girls is there right now in a chatting, so that's perfect time to drop in on somebody completely new. So that's where I'm going to take us. I am planning out something for Thanksgiving. I won't be streaming the day of, but I will be doing something in the week leading up to it, probably Tuesday. We have our frozen turkey necks, and I want to make a stuffing dough experiment. I might actually do the experiment live just to see if it works. on the weekend. That would be a pretty short one just to see what happens. Because yeah, I'm kind of brainstorming out something because I should do something for Thanksgiving. We're a food crew around here, and Thanksgiving is the food holiday. I can't miss Thanksgiving. So that's kind of where I'm settling in. Put stuff away. But thanks for hanging out. Thanks for sticking around. We are in the midst of sending off on a raid. We had a big group today. I'm excited. I need to do Thursdays more often. People show up on Thursdays, and I know that, and then I don't go on Thursday. Anyways, this is delicious. I hope you try it yourself. It wasn't that hard, honestly. I'll see you next time. Bye. Bye. As LaFay would say, button.